Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. I am Anyone and beside me is Wendy. We are pianists who have non-playing related injuries. Both of us study piano for more than 15 years with different teachers in different countries, different universities, and with different technique, different experience. Somehow, we both end up in the same spot, having non-play related injuries as pianists caused by accidents.
Pianists, as a fact, are usually very careful about their hands and fingers, the essentials of the body that are related to piano playing. Avoiding doing dangerous activities to the hand and finger is almost an underlying habit for us. It might be easy to avoid playing related injuries such as repetitive strain injury, RSI, but tripping over on the street and falling on the hand, or trying to lift heavy objects and damage the ligaments of the shoulder, things are happened beyond your imagination sometimes. Will these factors change our ability to play piano? The answer is yes. Before we share our short stories about our injury, we would like to address more points why we think non-playing related injuries are important and why it is one of the key factors for musicians, such as pianists, to give up on what they love.
Non-playing related injuries have these three key factors that we discovered. First is suddenness, second is randomness, and the last is irrelevance. Suddenness. It could have happened in a split second due to the misuse of the body, loss of concentrations in daily activities such as walking, running, or exercise. Involved in a fight or child playing accidents. The point is that they all happen fast and usually don't leave time for people to react. Second is randomness. If the playing related injuries are closely related to what they use to play the instruments such as wrist, fingers, elbows, which is directly related to playing model and how they occupied the instruments. Non-playing related injuries are random. It could occur everywhere in the human body because the only fact is how and where is the injury part. Last is irrelevance. Shows that when musicians seek for help, the reason for them to go to doctors won't directly relate to their life and career of music, and usually because of the irrelevance. Music was sacrificed because of the lack of information and lack of resources to take care of the injuries and music life at the same time. Now we're going to share our story of injuries. See if you can find the three factors we just introduced in our stories.
Funny enough, I have rather awkward non-playing related injuries around my hand area. And even better, it happened twice and in different hands each time. The first time, almost 8 years ago, I tripped over on a slippery floor when I was trying to catch a train. I landed with my right palm and right side of my body. I got the train eventually, but I was feeling a little numbness in my right thigh and waves of pain around my elbow joint. Then I felt more defined pain around my forearms as well as joints around my thumb area on the second day. A huge bruise appeared on my right thigh and it lasted for weeks. I went to see a doctor as soon as I could. He gave me anti-inflammatory medicines such as Voterin and asked me to see a physical therapist. The physical therapist used adhesive bandage to tape around my right hand thumb joints to stabilize it. Then I was asked to take as much rest as possible so I can let it recover. After a few weeks, I asked the physical therapist if I could play the piano because I did not feel much pain after resting for a while. At the time, I was preparing for my pre-screening tape to apply for my master's degree. It was behind my design timeline, so I was rushing back to practice when the physical therapist said yes to my request. It seemed like a fun idea at the moment. No doubt it got worse when I started playing with the tape on. The healing took almost 2 years before I could fully play without feeling weird in my thumb and wrist joint. The second time, it is more recent. It happened last August in 2020. Again, I was tripped over, how ironic, by the side curb between the grass lawn and concrete parking floor. This time, I sprained my left wrist, and then multiple bruises and open wound on both knees. Unlike last time, I was able to do some first aid because I kind of know better about my body. So I put ice on the swelling area and sanitize any wounded area, and I was wearing wrist brace to avoid unwanted movements. However, due to the COVID pandemic, I was afraid to visit hospitals. I could not see the doctor until almost 2 months later. However, this time, it was not as stressful as last time. There was no close deadline due to the pandemic, so I could give it good rest until I went back to practice. Between the accidental fall and my doctor visits, I was using an ice patch when it was swelling, some ointments to ease the pain, and Tylenols to reduce inflammation. I wore wrist brace to stabilize the joints so I could avoid extra movement around the wrist joint. After 2 months of rest, I was not happy with the speed of recovery, so I booked an appointment with a doctor who specializes in orthopedics and sports. He ordered an X-ray exam to see if there are damages to the bones. It came back clean. So he referred me to occupational therapy sessions. I was lucky to find a hand occupational therapist around my area. I went for 5 sessions and had ultrasound therapy each time. She also gave me some therapy putty to work with so I can regain the strength of my fingers, hand, and wrists. As we mentioned in our own experience, going to a doctor's appointment for a non-playing injury is not easy for us. Besides finding a proper diagnosis or picking the right treatment, the irrelevance also comes when we are seeking a way back to play piano regularly. However, this back to regular playing routine is usually considered the least important thing on the recovery checklist. Can you change your instrument? Can you try to play another way? Maybe you shouldn't play the piano anymore. These were often suggested in a way during recovery by the doctors or the therapist. But to a musician, some of them sound like a death sentence. It is not because there's no way to cure or improve. It's only because the connection between non-playing related injuries and heal as a musician is not made yet. Like the hand occupational therapist I met last year, she's quite experienced in her field, but it's still rare for her to work with musicians. Let's go to Annie's story now.
Hello everyone. I will be sharing my story of how I got my non-playing related injury, what I have done to seek for diagnosis and treatments, and where I am now with my injury both physically and psychologically. First, let me share with you how it happened. Every time when I am about to share the story of my injury, I sit down in front of the computer and the shoulders that hurts will start when memory unfolds. It is how it begins. It was a very normal day. I still have a very strong pair of shoulders that I can carry a lot of weights. At that time, I was working towards my recital for my degree, and 2 weeks until the band concerts, which I was both a pianist and percussionist. I was very happy that all the events were approaching soon. My brain, though, wasn't paying much attention to self-injury prevention as a musician at all because of the excitement. After one concert, the band crew was requested to move a marimba downstairs to the band rehearsal room. Everyone was carrying stuff, and there was a large piece of frame attached with a pipe left on the stage. So I thought, yeah, I could move it. I moved the frame almost halfway, carrying it on my elbow because it was in the concert hall and the hallway was very narrow. and also the seats were blocking the waves, otherwise I could just wheel it itself. Due to the location, I bumped the long pipe attached to the frame accidentally on one of the seats, and the frame pulled my right shoulder violently towards the other side, and was away from my body. Obviously, I didn't put down, but kept going as if it's nothing. I also was trying to stabilize the frame so it won't drop on the floor to cause damage. I felt pain immediately, but still tried to force the frame out of the hallway and carried it downstairs. The next day, I couldn't even raise my shoulder or my arm, and the pain was behind the right side clavicle area, under the armpit, and all the way to my neck. At that moment, I have lost hope to accomplish anything. All I can do is playing left hand at the piano, playing percussion with one hand on the bells, so I can just survive in the band. I want to cry every time when I was supposed to play or perform. This injury made me feel like a useless person in the school. Not only I cannot play what I need to, but also having struggles even just to carry my own backpack. After 1 week of rest, and going to the doctor for basic checks such as x-ray and hands-on examinations. The doctor checked and said I will need some rest. It was the pulled muscles around the shoulder area, and nothing else was mentioned as if I need more MRIs or others. At that point, I was flying blind in the dark. 1 week later, I sprained my right ankles due to the overwhelming situation and lack of sleep. I had to use crutches under my right shoulder to support my right foot. Me at this point had to tie up my shoulders just to handle the extra support for my foot so I can walk around campus for another 1.5 weeks. And also at the same time playing piano, using barely 2 hands and left foot on the pedal. I was thinking it is lucky to have music going on. Things were going better 1 week before my recital. I somehow found a way to compensate by using either shoulder's area muscles group around my right shoulder to support and play the piano. Of course, I was still in a lot of pain and I couldn't practice more than 30 minutes. My old way of practice was no longer functioning. The routine as a normal piano student practice all day long sections was totally ruined. If my hands cannot touch the keyboard, how am I supposed to practice? Eventually, I performed my recitals. My brain and my body stopped coordinating like before and went into a sensation chaos stage. The pain in the shoulders was like a ghost, haunting whenever and wherever it feels like to. There are some key points that would trigger my pains, such as stress of any kinds, the music I was playing during the time, memories of how I got injured, and the locations where it happens. Now, there still will be some good days and some bad days. The fact that I was over carefully treating my right shoulders before caused sensations, and proper alignment was slowly getting off. During these years, the pain expanded itself and reached from physically to psychologically. The last time I was in the hospital, the doctor told me I should have physically healed already.
After these 2 stories, we have to share how we felt and how we fight the injuries on our path. On this path, there will be 3 phases. 1 is recovery, then compensation, the last is cooperations. During the time of recovery, it is hard to maintain a fully functional body related to the injury part. Avoiding using the injury body parts is human nature. We try to avoid extra pain and more damage, of course. Slowly, our body and brain rewrite or rewire another program to function the body as usual. It's called compensation. After the compensation, we are feeling the new normals. We call it cooperations, that the body finds its own way or its own new way to cooperate the body, the muscle groups, the brain together. But somehow it's at the end.
Cooperation is the last phrase. Acceptance, realizations, all towards knowing your injuries and understand how it happened, when it happened, and how to work towards it. We are looking for new normals to the bodies that they can cooperate in the better ways. Now let's look at these three factors and what we're dealing with during the injuries. First is pain. Pain is the first thing we are getting once we are injured. Sometimes it lasts a bit of the time, and unfortunately for some people, it could be forever. No matter what kind of pain we are having, our brain always has the instinct to stop the pain. It could be on the spot to avoid or stop the pain, or long term, find a way to dodge the pain point by remodeling our body postures, the way we walk, move our bodies, how we sit, or even how we're standing. Trying to stop the pain is a very hard thing to do, but when the pain is not there anymore, is that a good news? It is a memory loss of how certain muscle groups feel and how to control them. And because it occurs in the central nervous systems, we are not aware of it, yet it affects us to our very core.
Sensory-motor amnesia is a learned adaptive response of the nervous system. Because it is learned, it can be unlearned. It needs re-education of the sensory-motor system. Traditional medical interventions and treatments are not effective for getting to the root causes of sensory-motor amnesia. No amount of stretching can undo tight muscles. You have to change patterns originating from the nervous system. The brain has to reorganize information to wake the senses of the injured part and correct the misaligned posture or misused muscle groups. Sort of like override the program, then fixing the bug of the program.
So, when we lost our tracks, how do we get back on it? Neuroplasticity is to find a new way to manage the body. It is a key point to rewire, recreate, and reorganize the way to getting better at facing pain. The brain, as Deutsch Norman described in his book, is plastic but not elastic. It works with confirmed informations, correct actions over time, rather than fixing mistakes constantly or shifting between different points. To reorganize and recreate, rewire the brain takes a lot of courage. Facing the pain and facing the reality sometimes take a lot of guts.
By sharing our stories today,
We hope it will encourage you.
that no matter how difficult and irrelevant the situation is,
There's always a new path to music.
thank you very much for listening to this presentation.